When Adana walked out of her husband's family house that rainy evening, she had no car, no money, and no one holding an umbrella over her head. Only two newborn babies were tied close to her chest. Twins, a boy and a girl. Their father's family had called them a curse. Her mother-in-law, Madame Beatrice, stood at the entrance with her wrapper tied tightly around her waist. "Take those children and leave my son's house," she said. "In this family, we do not accept shame." Adana looked at her husband, Chukudi. She waited for him to speak. He did not. He stood behind his mother like a man who had misplaced his courage. "Chukudi," Adana whispered, "these are your children." He looked away. That was the moment her heart broke, not because they sent her away, but because the man who once promised to protect her watched her carry his children into the rain. Adana returned to her late mother's one-room apartment in Ajagunal. The roof leaked. The windows shook when heavy trucks passed. At night, mosquitoes sang louder than lullabies. But every time she looked at her twins, she found strength. She named the boy Daniel. She named the girl Daniela. "Your father's people rejected you," she whispered one night, "but God did not reject you. I did not reject you, and one day, the world will know your names." Life did not pity her. She sold pap in the morning. She washed clothes in the afternoon. At night, she made chinchin and packaged it in small nylon bags. Sometimes, she ate only once so the twins could eat twice. When Daniel had fever, she carried him on her back to the clinic and begged the nurse to treat him first while she searched for money. When Daniela needed school sandals, Adana repaired the old ones with thread until she could buy another pair. People mocked her. "See the woman they sent away. Twins without a father. Fine face, bad luck." Adana heard everything, but she never answered. She only worked harder. Years passed. Daniel became quiet and brilliant. He loved numbers, machines, and fixing broken radios. Daniela became bold and sharp. She could speak in front of a crowd without fear. Their mother raised them with one rule. "Never hate your father's family," she told them, "but never forget what dignity means." When the twins were 16, Daniel built a small solar power box from old parts. It powered their room during an outage. Neighbors gathered in shock. Daniela looked at her brother and said, "One day, we will build something bigger than this street." Daniel smiled. And they did. With scholarships, small jobs, and sleepless nights, Daniel studied engineering. Daniela studied business and law. Years later, they started a clean energy company together. They called it D&D Power Solutions. At first, people ignored them. Then a school hired them. Then a hospital. Then a bank. By the time Daniel and Daniela turned 28, their company had become one of the fastest-growing energy firms in Lagos. They were no longer the rejected twins. They were the children newspapers wanted to interview. One Saturday morning, Adana sat in her living room watching a business program when Daniel and Daniela appeared on television. The presenter smiled and said, "Today, we are speaking with the founders of D&D Power Solutions, the young Nigerians bringing affordable solar power to schools, hospitals, and rural businesses." Adana covered her mouth. Tears filled her eyes. The babies she carried in the rain had become a light to others. But in another part of Lagos, Madame Beatrice was also watching. Her hand trembled. "Chukudi," she called. Her son came into the sitting room. On the screen, Daniel smiled. Same eyes, same jaw, same quiet strength. Daniela turned to answer a question, and Chukudi almost dropped his phone. She looked like Adana, but her confidence reminded him of the woman he failed to defend. Madame Beatrice sat slowly. "Are those not the twins?" Chukudi did not answer. The shame in his face was enough. The Adioba family was no longer as powerful as before. Their family business had collapsed after bad contracts and poor decisions. Their name, once respected, had become tied to debt and court cases. The only thing left was a major property development project. But there was a problem. The project needed a clean energy partner, and the best company for the job was D&D Power Solutions, Daniel and Daniela's company, the same children they had thrown away. A week later, Adana received a call from an unknown number. "Adana," the voice said. She froze. It was Chukudi. After 28 years, he still knew how to sound like regret. "What do you want?" she asked. "I need to see you," he said. "Please." Adana almost laughed. "Now you need to see me." He was silent. Then he said, "It is about the children." Adana's voice became cold. "They are not children anymore." 2 days later, Chukudi and Madame Beatrice came to Adana's house. They expected the one-room apartment. They expected the poor woman they abandoned. Instead, they stood before a beautiful home. Adana came out wearing a simple dress, calm and graceful. Madame Beatrice looked smaller than Adana remembered. Chukudi looked older. Adana, he whispered. She did not smile. Say what you came to say. Madame Beatrice cleared her throat. We heard about Daniel and Daniela. They have done well. Adana looked at her. They did well without your family name. The words struck the old woman. Chukwudi stepped forward. I was wrong, he said. I should have protected you. Adana nodded slowly. Yes, you should have. Madame Beatrice's voice shook. Our family business is in trouble. There is a project. We need their company. If they partner with us, it can save the family name. Adana stared at her, the same name that rejected them. No one spoke. Then Daniel and Daniela entered the compound. They had been listening from the doorway. Daniel looked at Chukwudi. So did Daniela. For the first time in their lives, they stood face to face with the family that had denied them. Chukwudi's eyes filled with tears. My children, he whispered. Daniela raised her hand. No, you do not get to start there. Chukwudi swallowed. Daniel spoke quietly. You knew where we were? Chukwudi looked down. Yes, and you never came. I was ashamed. Daniel nodded. Shame did not feed us. Shame did not pay school fees. Shame did not carry us to the hospital when we were sick. Madame Beatrice began to cry. I was wrong, she said. I thought I was protecting the family. Daniela looked at her firmly. No, Grandma. You were protecting pride. The word Grandma shook Madame Beatrice. She had never heard it from them before. Adana turned away, fighting tears. Daniel looked at his sister, then back at the old woman. What exactly do you want from us? Chukwudi handed over the project file. We want your company to partner with us. Daniela collected the file and flipped through it. Then she laughed softly, but there was pain in it. So when we were babies, we were a curse. Now that we own a company, we are a solution. Nobody answered. Daniel walked to his mother and held her hand. Our mother will decide if we even sit at the table. Adana looked at her children. She remembered the rain, the insults, the empty nights, the fever, the hunger, the shame. Then she looked at Chukwudi. I will not teach my children bitterness, she said. But I will also not teach them foolishness. She turned to Madame Beatrice. If this partnership happens, it will not be because you are family. It will be because your project meets their company's standards. Daniela nodded. And the contract will include public acknowledgement, she said. Chukwudi looked confused. Daniela continued. You will publicly acknowledge that Daniel and I are your children. Not hidden partners. Not silent helpers. Not secret blood. Madame Beatrice wiped her tears. And if people talk, Daniel looked at her. Let them talk. We lived with their talk for years. The room went silent. For the first time, the Adioba family had no power over the twins. Weeks later, at a business press event, cameras flashed as the partnership was announced. Chukwudi stood at the microphone with trembling hands. I want to say something before we sign, he began. Adana stood in the audience. Daniel and Daniela stood beside him. Chukwudi looked at the crowd. Many years ago, I failed a woman who loved me. I failed my children. Daniel and Daniela are my children, and their mother, Adana, raised them with courage I did not have. The room became silent. Madame Beatrice sat in the front row, crying openly. Chukwudi continued, Today, they are not saving our name because we deserve it. They are giving us a chance because their mother raised them better than we treated her. Adana wiped her tears. Daniela held her brother's hand. Daniel stepped to the microphone. We are not here to erase the past, he said. We are here to prove that rejection does not have the final word. The hall erupted in applause, but Adana did not clap. She simply stood there, watching the children she carried through shame become the reason a proud family bowed its head. After the event, Madame Beatrice walked slowly to Adana. I am sorry, she whispered. I cannot undo what I did. Adana looked at her for a long time. No, she said. You cannot. Then she added, but you can stop doing it to other women. Madame Beatrice nodded through tears. That evening, Daniel drove his mother home. Daniela sat beside her in the back seat, resting her head on Adana's shoulder. Mom, Daniela whispered, are you okay? Adana looked out at the city lights. I am more than okay, she said. I carried you out of that house in the rain. Today, I watched you walk back in with honor. Daniel smiled from the front seat. And we are still your children first. Adana laughed softly. Yes, she said. Before any company. Before any family name. Before any applause. You are mine. Years later, people still told the story. They said the Adioba family was saved by the twins they once rejected. But Adana knew the real truth. Her children did not save a family name. They revealed what a family name was supposed to mean. Not pride, not power, not reputation. Love, courage, truth, and the strength to stand with your own when the whole world is laughing.